This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for 17 News at Noon. I'm Nicole Gitsky. We begin with a deadly shooting overnight. Police say the shooter is still on the run. Now, according to Bakersfield police, it happened on Tyree Tulliver and East 3rd Streets. Police say they received a shot spotter activation just after 12:30 a.m. When they arrived, BPD found 2 gunshot victims in a vehicle. One of those victims died at the scene. The other was taken to the hospital. Police have not said what possibly sparked this shooting and have yet to release any information on the suspect at this time. By our count, this is the 87th homicide this year. 7 of those have happened in just the past 5 days. Meantime, the woman wanted in connection to another deadly shooting is behind bars. According to BPD, 40-year-old Geraldine Spotwood was arrested and charged for murder in connection to the shooting that took place yesterday morning on I Street between 2nd and 3rd Streets. Bakersfield police say when they arrived, they found a man with a gunshot wound. He died at the scene. Police say this is an ongoing investigation. If you have any information on this case, contact them at 327-7111. And police are still searching for Jose Duarte. He's the man suspected of shooting and killing a woman and injuring a teen last week on the east side near North Inyo and Crawford Streets. If you see Jose Duarte or know where he is, call KCSO at 861-3110 or 911. Now to the effort to end mask mandates in Kern County schools as parents and teachers took their frustrations to 2 local school boards last night. Both the Rosedale and Panama Buena Vista Union School District meetings had the rooms filled with advocates from the Let Them Breathe movement. They voiced their frustrations with the state mandate requiring kids to wear masks in the classroom. The demonstrators say they want masks to be an option for students. Panama Buena Vista Union School District did not make any motion on masks last night. However, the Rosedale Union School District voted to have a letter drafted and sent to the governor's office urging them to overturn the statewide mask mandate. They plan to reach out to Senator Shannon Grove to endorse the letter. And taking a look at the latest coronavirus numbers here at home, Kern Public Health confirmed 355 new cases today and 4 new deaths. Our death toll now stands at 1,433 local lives lost. State data shows 180 people are in the hospital with the virus. 35 are in the ICU. Our hospitalizations and ICU numbers continue to grow as the spread of coronavirus once again worsens. And 500 days ago, Kern County learned about its first COVID-19 death. Since then, we've lost 1,433 lives. This pandemic has been brutal, but it didn't have to be this deadly.
I do believe that people underestimated it. And by the time we underestimated it, here we are.
Now we're dealing with our 3rd wave of infections. Hospitals are filling up, and families who have already lost loved ones to the virus are concerned they'll lose more as the virus jumps from person to person faster than before. Now tonight on 17 News at 5, 17's Alex Fisher takes an in-depth look at how this pandemic targeted our community. He's requested every death certificate during the first year of the pandemic and received 8,000 documents. He'll explain why COVID was the leading cause of death during that year and why the count may be higher than what's originally being reported. Alex Fisher's report, Kern's Deadliest Days, tonight on 17 News at 5. Well, new orders for those visiting Bakersfield hospitals. They will now be required to provide proof of COVID-19 vaccination or a negative test in order to be allowed inside. Dignity Health Bakersfield and Adventist Health Bakersfield say starting today, visitors must show proof. Vaccinated visitors must have been fully vaccinated within 2 weeks of their first visit. Both hospitals say they are also limiting visitors to just 1 per patient. The changes come as local hospitals are seeing an influx of COVID-19 patients in recent weeks. And just announced the state will mandate teachers to be vaccinated or get tested regularly for coronavirus with the return of school. Governor Gavin Newsom made that announcement this morning. The move makes California the first state requiring vaccination or testing for educators working on school campuses.
Clinica Sierra Vista is now offering rapid COVID-19 testing and COVID-19 vaccinations. Call 833-278-4584 to make your appointment. But don't delay. Clinica Sierra Vista, putting patients first.
Now to a new concern confronting officials and businesses trying to police proof of vaccination among adults. The rise of phony cards being sold online. And with many universities and colleges requiring proof of vaccine, there are reports some students may be trying to game the system. NBC's Tom Costello has more.
This fall, getting back to normal includes college students going back to campus. But with nearly 700 universities and colleges now requiring proof of vaccination, some administrators are worried about a new black market. Counterfeit certifications, some going for as much as $200.
The students who've spoken with me have been clear that they know exactly how they would get fraudulent vaccine cards, and that they know students who have submitted these fraudulent vaccine cards.
The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, one of the schools requiring students to submit their proof of vaccination. As an alternative, some, like UNC, also offer the option for students to undergo regular testing. Junior Simon Palmori says he believes most of his classmates would not upload a fake card, but
it's really distressing to think that students that could be sitting behind me in class could be both unvaccinated and not being tested.
UNC tells NBC News it conducts periodic verification of documents and no fraudulent entries have been found so far. It also notes that lying or falsifying documents could result in disciplinary action. But fake vaccination cards have been advertised online. The FBI used a public service announcement earlier this year to be on the lookout, warning against making or buying a fake card.
The unauthorized use of a government agency seal is illegal, and it is punishable by a hefty fine and/or up to 5 years in prison.
2 airline passengers entering Canada from the U.S. were recently fined nearly $16,000 each for using fake vaccination cards. It all comes as some cities and businesses are implementing their own proof of vaccination requirements for activities like dining indoors, going to gyms, or seeing shows.
We're trying to entertain folks. So I'm not saying anybody has to get a vaccine or a negative test, but if you don't, then you don't get to come to the show.
But for some in the restaurant industry already hard hit by the pandemic, frustration over having to police their customers' vaccination status.
To me, it seems like the government is trying to get around it by having small business do the enforcing that the government should really be doing.
Back on campus in Chapel Hill, Professor Chapman is hoping everyone takes the lessons learned from the pandemic to have a safe semester.
It means thinking about what those healthcare providers have gone through over the course of the last 18 months and not wanting to be a part of stressing them further.
Now, the unauthorized use of official government seal like the CDC seal is punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. Switching gears now to education news. You still have time to help the children at the Bakersfield Homeless Center succeed this year. Once again, KGAT is teaming up with the shelter for our annual backpack drive. We are asking for basic school supplies like backpacks, notebooks, pencils, as well as school clothing and underwear for boys, girls, and teens. You can drop off donations at our station at 22nd and L Streets or the Homeless Center on East Truxtun Avenue through this Friday during regular business hours. And with back to school right around the corner, many parents may be wondering if school transportation will be back this year. Well, getting to and from school is crucial, but we are still in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. So should parents expect any changes? Well, not exactly. Students must wear masks while on the bus, but buses will be up and running in time for the new school year. Kern Public School District Public Information and Communications Manager Erin Briscoe Clark joined us this morning on Sunrise. She says everyone needs to do their part to keep everyone safe and healthy.
Whether a student is hopping on a bus or returning to full in-person instruction, we want the students when they wake up in the morning to take that self-assessment, with their health. Ask themselves, do they not feel well? Do they have a runny nose, a stuffy nose? If that's the case, stay home for today.
If you have any questions regarding your child's school transportation system, head to kernhigh.org. And another thing that might be on parents' minds, getting their child back into a routine, especially a healthy sleep schedule. Lack of sleep can affect kids' physical health, causing things like hypertension, obesity, and headaches. It can also lead to irritability and depression. Now, Dr. Amin says she thinks we have stopped prioritizing sleep when it is something crucial for our health.
Sleep has to be a priority the same way safety is a priority for your children. And so sometimes it requires a lot of discipline to say, no, we're going to cut back on this particular activity, or more, maybe we can only do one sport at a time or one extracurricular activity at a time. And to think, okay, this is our bedtime every single night during the school week, and you start to implement that bedtime an hour in advance.
Dr. Amin says teens require the most sleep. On average, she recommends between 10 to 12 hours of sleep for children.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.